That was really important to me. One of the first conversations I ever had with Bill about this revival was saying, I want to keep the humor and the silliness, particularly with Turk, because that is how Donald and I are in real life. But I also want JD, when he drops in, to show that he's an amazing teacher. I want that to be real. I want to reground the show in how it was in season one, base it in reality, have the comedy come from realistic situations, obviously outside of the fantasies. But then I really wanted JD to be an amazing teacher. That was interesting to me because he had a line in the pilot where Dr. Cox says, these interns need someone to do for them what I did for you. That really is the sort of the theme for me for the whole character for the whole season.
We spent 9 years playing the characters, eight if you don't count season nine. And so coming back into this role was seamless. Like, you ride a bike. If you haven't ridden a bike in a long time, I just recently did it.
How'd it go?
I did really well. The saying is actually true. Once you learn how to ride a bike, you never really forget. And so that was the same thing with this. We went around the block so many times on the proverbial bike, so many times that it's so easy to jump back on and get back in the groove of things.
It was really cool. It felt like to get to do a job that you love that much, that checks all the boxes of loving to play the character and loving the writing and loving the show, as well as the people you're working with once in your career, is rare. And so to get to come back now and do it again, and I was actually quite surprised how, like, we were there morning one, it was like, oh, we're just here on this. They've rebuilt the hospital set exactly to a T, how it was. And so you've got that element of it. And then I think the interesting challenge was bringing it into 2026 and figuring out, okay, how do we still hold on to who these people are and be true to the characters, but to ground it. And Zach directed the pilot, so that was great because we could really, work with him and try it a few different ways and try and find the right level of really grounding the characters in now.
I think that's a great question. It makes me think of Bill Lawrence's writing. And one of the reasons I think Ted Lasso was such a massive hit in COVID is that it felt like everyone really could use a good hug. The show was heartwarming and positive and life affirming. And I think that Scrubs, when it's at its best, can be the same way. It's about people that are struggling and flawed, but ultimately they've dedicated their lives to trying to save lives and make a difference for people. And so I think that now is a good time for a show that is heartwarming and life affirming and about friendship.
And I think also, the other through line in all of Bill's shows is he always writes things that are so hopeful. Ted Lasso is that way, Shrinking is that way, and he puts that into Scrubs, and I feel like it's a good time for some hope.
I don't think you can ever age out from being a dreamer. You know what I mean? I think you always are dreaming about something better for your life. You know what I mean? One of the sayings is, if I knew then what I know now, right? But you know now, so why don't you continue to, learn more? So you know what I mean? And so I feel like as an adult, you never stop dreaming. Your dreams you might not necessarily think they can come true anymore, but you still put it out there. You still put the energy out there into the universe.